Hey everybody, I know it's been a little while and sorry, I'm like, just went outside in the cold and then inside and then outside, and I have a terrible time like regulating my temperature. So I feel very cold, but I am sweating. So that's me wiping away my sweat. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to Melissa if you're watching this. She hates sweat, it grosses her out. And I am a very sweaty person, so it's amazing that she can be friends with me. But anyway, I am right now sitting on the couch, heating up some dinner. There goes the dog. Waiting for Joel to come home from the airport because he went on a short trip to California to visit a friend this past week, and I hate when he's gone because, I mean, obviously I miss him, but I have a very hard time sleeping. Excuse me. Sleeping while he's gone, and I already have a hard time sleeping recently, so yeah, I haven't actually slept more than about 30 minutes a night the past 3 nights. So I'm happy that he'll be home soon and we can go to bed because I'm tired. But I did get a lot done while he was away around the house. As you may or may not know, we have been looking for a new house for like six years. Obviously not super actively. I mean, we've been actively looking, but we're in no rush to move from this house. We just want a different house with a better commute for Joel. And every time we see one that's like kind of close, or even anytime we see a house like in an open house and it's so clean, I mean, I know that they like prepared for that, but it blows my mind that some people's houses could be that clean, just clean, and like no clutter and junk. And my house is full of clutter and junk. And yeah, so we saw a house a few weekends ago, and it was really, really nice. And it was very much what we were looking for, but it's a bit out of our budget, and the location wasn't perfect. But we thought about it, and in the process of thinking about it, I thought, there's no way we could sell our house in the state that it's in. Like, there's a lot of small repairs that need to be done, and just a massive amount of like decluttering and deep cleaning. And we've got a handyman now who is starting on the smaller projects, and he did a bunch of our like replacing our door handles, which we had done half of them when we bought the house. We swapped them from gold to silver just for the looks of it, and now we're swapping from whatever was there, gold or silver, to like a lever handle versus like a knob, because the knob, I have a hard time with my old lady hands like holding it and turning it. So these are just, you know, you just put your hand on and it levers down. So the dog is obsessively licking the floor. It's so gross. Anyway, he did all those and replaced like the front and the back door, and we have all new keys and all new locks, and it's so nice. And now he's on to a much bigger job, which is fixing up the mudroom, which you guys have seen before, as I'm coming and going from the backyard. Years ago we had some water damage from ice dams, which, if you don't know, if you don't live in a place where it snows a lot, it's sort of a place on your roof where the ice can form a dam, and then the ice and snow underneath will melt, but there's nowhere for the water to go, so it'll go into your house, and obviously then it causes damage. So we had a bunch of damage, and we fixed the cause of the ice dam, which is that we had really bad insulation. So we got the insulation fixed, we got the roof fixed, but we didn't get the damage that was done fixed because we just don't use that room very much. And so in that room was all this kind of water damage to the corner of the wall and the ceiling. But then also there were these big holes drilled in where they blew in the insulation into the wall, and then they just left the holes. So awesome new handyman guy is fixing up that whole room, and I keep looking at it. You can't really you can't see it, but it's right off the kitchen there. And I picked out a new paint color and a new ceiling fan, and yeah, so he's more than halfway done now. It's just drying from a skim coat of something, and then he's gonna come back in 2 days and paint and then put up a ceiling fan, and I'm so excited. We don't use that room, so like I can't be that excited, but it just seems like one more thing done off the to-do list, and one more thing that we would need to fix if/when we sell this house. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I don't know why I've been talking for 7 minutes about the stupid house stuff. I'm sorry. I was just trying to say that I did a lot of cleaning and decluttering and organizing around the house while Joel was gone. And I feel really good about it, but I also am exhausted. There was a lot of heavy lifting. And so all this brings me back to the story that I'm trying to tell you, which is the story of my first infusion of the Benlysta. So last Monday, 1 week ago, I was to have my first infusion of Benlysta at my rheumatologist's office. So I left work early. Joel worked from home so that he could drive me to and from, because I was told that I may likely be too tired to drive myself home. So I came home, he drove me to the appointment, and you know, I went right in, and they told me what was going to happen, that I was going to take a Benadryl or a Zyrtec. I could decide to counteract any allergic reactions, and then they would start the infusion. You know, they'd give me an IV, start the infusion, and it would be about an hour to an hour and a half. And I brought a book, and I brought my iPad, and I was ready to go. Not nervous at all. I was pretty excited to be getting this infusion. So I sit down, and the nurse is super nice, and she's chit-chatting and trying to find a vein to put the needle in, right? And I warned her I have a very hard time finding a vein for blood draws and for IVs, and I've always been this way, and sometimes it's really difficult. And she was like, you know, we'll get it. And I said, well, I don't mind the needle. I'm very patient. You can poke me as many times as you want. Don't worry about it. So she tries a couple times. I told her that right here, you can probably even see a couple holes, right there is the best place to try. So she tried that first, no luck. Tried my arm, tried this arm, and then she called in, sorry, that's the oven preheating. She called in another nurse to come and try, and she came in again, super nice. And I gave her the whole spiel, that I am notoriously difficult to get a needle into, but that I'm totally fine with her trying as much as she needs to try. So she starts on me, and she's just kind of tapping around. She has not poked me with the needle yet. The other nurse did a couple times, but she hadn't yet. And she's like, you know, just tapping around, making small talk, talking about my dogs. She's like, are you feeling okay? And I said, yep, totally fine. And then I said, well, I'm actually starting to feel a little woozy. So I leaned my head back on the chair, and I've gotten like this before when getting my blood taken. I think that the longer it takes them to find a vein, like internally, I'm getting more and more anxious, even though I don't actively feel anxious at all. I feel very patient. I feel totally fine with it. But underneath, my body is like, this doesn't seem right, you know? It shouldn't be that hard to get into this thing. So I lean my head back, and I'm just kind of feeling a little woozy. And then I just hear like too much talking, too much, like it wasn't just the nurse and I anymore. And I open my eyes, and everybody's in the room. My doctor, the two nurses, another nurse, and a policeman. And the nurse is like shaking me, not shaking me, but she's like kind of holding my shoulders and putting oxygen in my nose. And she said, you know, are you okay? Are you okay? You passed out? What happened? And I'm like, I feel fine. I don't know what happened. I just felt a little woozy. Maybe I got nervous. I'm fine. And she's like, you weren't fine. You know, you were making weird noises. Your breathing was crazy. Blood pressure dropped. Your heart rate dropped. We have an ambulance coming. And it took me a minute, you know, to like get my bearings, and then, but I felt fine. And this exact thing has happened to me before, years and years and years ago, when I got my wisdom teeth out. I think I was like 19. And they were about to give me the anesthesia, and the same thing happened. I passed out, and they like woke me up, and then like they told me that I passed out, and then they gave me the anesthesia, and then I got my wisdom teeth out. It's fine. I don't know what made it happen then, and I don't know what made it happen now, but they made me go to the hospital in an ambulance, in a gurney, and I felt fine. You know, I could walk, I could stand, I mentally totally fine. I was just so embarrassed, for one, and just so overwhelmingly frustrated that I couldn't get the infusion. Like all of that, I had to go to the hospital. I was at the hospital for like 6 hours, where they didn't have a room for me, so I was just laying on the gurney, you know, the bed. I don't know what they call the bed that's got the wheels on it, but the hospital bed, in the hallway. I was fine because I was like totally clothed, and I had my book and my iPad and everything with me. So I was just hanging out there, and the nurse comes over, and she's like, we need to take blood. And I'm like, good luck, lady. Good luck. This is the whole problem. So it took 4 different nurses, one of which was the self-proclaimed vein whisperer. Took 4 nurses, 2.5 hours to get a vein, to get blood out of me. And I was like, please take as much as you want. Like, I don't care. So yeah, luckily they're almost gone now, but I had like probably 10 bruises on each arm and hands, and just from them poking and poking and poking and not getting anything. So they took blood, they did an EKG, and then they discharged me and said it was just a vasovagal syncope, which just means that you passed out. Just means that all the blood rushed from your head, out of your head, and you passed out. So, sorry. I always get sniffly when I talk to you. So, yeah, just miserable. Frustrated that I didn't get my infusion, and just embarrassed by the whole thing. And I think I've talked about this before too. It's just that, like, being overweight as a patient, it just adds this level of, it's not, anxiety is not the right word, but embarrassed. I guess I'm just embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that they have to put me on a gurney and wheel me out and fit me into this ambulance. And I didn't realize that the paramedics don't lift the stretchers anymore. It's all like these hydraulic tables. So when the paramedic came in and he was like, you know, we have to take you in the ambulance. And I said, well, I can walk out. I could even drive there. You know, I can have someone drive me to the hospital. And they're like, no, we have to take you, and you cannot walk. You have to go in this gurney. Stretcher. I don't know what the difference is. And, you know, in my head, I'm freaking out, like, I'm not going to fit in it. And then they're not going to be able to lift me. These two men have to carry me out. But they didn't. Yeah, and I fit on it just fine. They definitely make them extra wide now for a larger population. So I just stood up and laid on it, and they had to strap me in, and the straps fit. And yeah, they just like pump it up like a hairdresser's chair. Like, it's not, yeah, they don't have to lift you at all. And even going into the ambulance and all that, they don't do any lifting. They just wheel you right in. So that was good, even though it was still embarrassing. They had to wheel me through the waiting room of all the patients at the rheumatologist office. So that was fun. And then I got home, had dinner. I felt totally fine. Then the next morning I called the office, the rheumatologist office, and sort of apologized for what happened and tried to make an appointment for them to try again. And they were just too freaked out. They were like, you know, you have to come see the doctor first before we figure out what to do. And he was saying that he wanted to put me on the self-injection instead of the infusion, which is a weekly thing instead of a monthly thing. And yeah, he was just too freaked out. You know, and I don't blame them. They're not used to that at all. They are just like a doctor's office. They're not an emergency room. I don't think they're used to. I don't think they've ever had anyone even pass out there before. So that's that. And then the next day, I was driving home for lunch from work, and I blew a tire. And I had to have my car towed for the second time in a week. And that was frustrating, is not really the word. But yeah, so I was able to have that fixed. But then Joel was leaving that same day, like the next day, the day I was getting my car fixed. So the day after I blew the tire, they took it away that night, and then I had to get it back the next day. But I had to get it back in time for Joel to go away. So It was a lot. And to finish the Benlysta infusion story is that today, 1 week later, also, I got the bill for the emergency room in 3 days. Isn't that amazing? Like, kind of creepy amazing, not like good amazing, but like you can have an emergency on a Monday night, and by Thursday, you get the bill in the mail. I mean, they must have mailed it out like while I was still there. It's crazy. Okay. Anyway, so today the doctor's office called me, and it was the nurse that had worked on me. So I missed the call, but I called her back, and she was like, "How are you feeling? How are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that I freaked you out. I feel totally fine. I was fine. It's all fine. Like, I just wanted to talk her down so that they would try and give me the infusion again." And she was calling to say that they got the injectable one approved by my insurance and that they're mailing it out to me soon. So they want me to do the first injection on site with them. So the medication's going to be mailed to me, and I'm going to bring it in to my appointment, which is on December 10th. And then we're going to like do it all together, wait a while, make sure I don't have an allergic reaction. And then from then on, I just do it at home all by myself. And that's it. So I asked her again, I was like, you would not be willing to try the infusion again. Like, while I was at the hospital, they had me laying down flat, and they told me, if this ever starts to happen again, just lay down flat and you won't pass out. And I said I could just lay down while you give me the needle. And she was like, I could tell she was just kind of reeling from it. And she was like, no, it was really scary. And, because of what happened. Like, what happened? Like, I just passed out. I didn't have like a seizure or a demonic possession. Like, I just passed out. And yeah, I didn't, I don't know. I don't blame her, but I'm also annoyed. I do prefer to try the infusion. But, people have really good results from the injection too, and I'm sure I'm gonna come to love it. And I believe the copay on the medication is much cheaper on the injectable versus the infusion as well. So that definitely will be nice. But I'll find out all of that. All right. So I have been talking for almost 25 minutes. I'm really sorry about how rambly this got. I just wanted to check in and tell you about my infusion and the infusion that never was. So didn't happen. I didn't get it. I'm not cured. But I'll let you know how the injectable one goes. It better go. My God, if I end up having like an allergic reaction and then just can't get it at all, I'm gonna be pissed. But I'm gonna go make Joel some chili for when he gets home. Probably another hour. I think his plane landed about 46 minutes ago. And it'll take him about an hour to drive home. So, yep, that's my whole story. I hope you are doing well. I wish that this was Vlogmas every year. I wish I could do Vlogmas, but Christmas time, December and January are just my absolute flat out busiest time at my work. so I don't really do anything other than work. So if I did Vlogmas, it would be like, here's my drive to work. Here is me at work. Here is me driving home and going to bed and going back to work. So really not that exciting. Not that my normal life the rest of the year is exciting, but like a little bit more than that. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna stop talking now. I missed you and I wanted to say hi, and I will talk to you again real soon.